Sweep the leg!
No legs.
Hi, I'm Cody Stewart, representing Koryu Uchinadi under Hanshi Patrick McCarthy. In this KU quick tip, I want to look at the knee ride position. This video will look specifically at the mechanics of the position, and follow-on videos will put it into a self-defense context as the transition between the stand-up and the ground. So in a knee ride position, the opponent's going to be on the ground, typically but not necessarily on their back, and you're going to be essentially on top. The idea is to have more or less all of your weight down on your opponent through this knee, and this leg is going to be out like an outrigger for stability, for balance. As for where you balance yourself, you don't want to be directly above your opponent because then I can easily be tipped this way, and you don't want to bend forward too far for the same reason. You want to sink your weight a little bit off to the close side and posture up so that if he does grab you and pull, you can direct that energy into that knee, into him as he pulls you that way. Not only that, with your weight sunk off this side, it also means to tip you that way, he has to lift up and over a little bit more of your mass. In terms of knee placement, I'm not actually going to balance on the point of my knee, driving down through that. That will be far less comfortable for him, but it's also really unstable. So I'm going to go on my shin. I'm going to put my shin across his body, and that way I have much greater stability. I have a couple of options for where to put this. I can go low across his hips so I can control that rotation, or if I want to make it far less comfortable for him, I can go up across his solar plexus, and then I can drive all of my weight down into his solar plexus, compressing his rib cage, making it hard for him to breathe. So this foot, I want it to be wrapped around his body. I don't want it to be back on the floor like this. If it's on the floor, it's going to be taking some of my weight, and I want all of my weight on him. Not only that, but it's also going to connect me to this spot on the floor, so as he moves, it's easier for him to move away from me. If I have that foot wrapped tight around his body, I am now connected to him, and I go where he goes with all of my weight on him. As for this leg, we don't want the knee down because then that's taking too much weight off of this knee, off of him. I also don't want the heel up. I don't want the leg straight. This isn't very mobile. Again, I want a very natural position in the middle with this knee up and that foot planted flat. Now I want to place the foot out from his shoulder or below. I don't want to go too high because then it's in a place where he can hook it and he can topple me backwards. Even without him hooking it, if I go really high, I am tippy. So I want to make sure that it's out from his body, where if he rolls towards me, I can resist that, but it's not so high he can get a hold of it. And then I'm nice and balanced in the middle, so if he starts turning, I can just follow him wherever he goes. So what you hang on to will be somewhat opportunistic depending on how he's moving. Also, you have the ability to rain down strikes in this position like no other position, so you don't always have to be hanging on to something. I personally like to hook the close arm, either over or under, and to hook the head. I find that this position gives me a lot of control, but I also have the ability to lift and pull him up and drive into that knee, and that additional pressure alone can sometimes be enough to submit it. Again, because this is a dynamic posture, I have to make adaptations depending on what he does. So for example, if he shrimps out and brings this knee across, I've now lost the knee ride, so I may choose to change knees. I still have a knee ride, but now I'm facing the legs instead of facing the head. I can switch back. When I make that transition, I have to consider how I'm affecting him. I can't just lift my weight off and leave him free to move while I transition to the other side. What I may choose to do is keep weight on this knee, bring the other knee in, and then switch. Weight the other knee, and switch. One potential downside to that is I am bringing my legs together, so I have to be quick about it and choose my moment. Alternatively, if I do it again at the right time, I can back out taking my weight off. I can choose to pull him and then drive back in on the other side and keep him moving while I make my transition. It may also be necessary to change sides of the body. For example, if he pulls me off this side and I do lose my balance, at this stage, I can switch to the other side and pick up my knee ride on the other side. Now I'm not going to just take all of my weight off of him and hop over. Again, that leaves him unweighted and free to move. So when I have to change sides, I want to bring this knee into his chest before I remove this one. So nice and slow, I'm going to put this one in the center. I'm going to pivot my feet across and then slide this one out. Of course, that's going to happen really quickly. So if he rolls hard towards me and pulls his hips out from under my knee, I can just drive back in again and flatten him out and reestablish my knee ride. If he incorporates this hand to push my knee off, I can't just push it back on again. So I may choose to trap that arm and switch around to the other side, this time switching to the head side rather than across the body. So when I make that transition, I do need to take some weight off of him. So I'm going to make sure I entangle the arms, particularly one on the opposite side. That's the one I need. And I'm going to rely on a quick transition. So what I need to do is I need to take this leg and I need to step it all the way across and then swing that one around over the head side. If I need to get this arm out of the way, if it's impeding me stepping around, again, because it's this arm that I want, I can, instead of just stepping straight, I can drop that knee across that arm and then swing around and change. So now we get a sense of why it's called a knee ride and why we refer to this leg as an outrigger. This is not a position to hold your opponent immobilized. This is a dynamic stability. So we find a balance point between his ability to push and pull and turn so that I can ride out that movement. So that concludes our look at the basics of the knee ride position. Stay tuned for follow-on videos that will put it into a self-defense context as the transition point between the stand-up and the ground. If you enjoyed this video, please click here to subscribe. Check out my page for others like it. I'm Cody Stewart. Thanks for watching this KU Quick Tip.